what's your kind of experience with the Saw franchise, like leading up to this? Have you seen them all?
I remember all the excitement of Saw 1 when it very first came out and people saying it's the best film we've ever seen and stuff like that. It did nothing for me at the time in terms of wanting us to go and sit in the cinema and watch it. So I didn't watch it until a couple of years later. I'm much more into the spooky kind of stuff. I like ghosts and I like stuff like that. What I would class as gross out horror, like Hostel and things. I can watch it, but it doesn't always sit well with us. But anyway, I watched Saw and quite enjoyed it. Thought it was quite interesting. But then I didn't go back to it for years. And then a mate of mine had the collection or something and he lent us all of them. So I sat and watched them all one by one. And I really, really enjoyed them. I thought they were quite interesting. I thought it was quite stomach churning, some of the kills and things like that. And then this one is the first one I've seen at the cinema. I took my wife to see it. She's a lucky woman. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's just the kills weren't as bad or I'm more used to it now. I didn't necessarily feel as an aversion to kind of look away or to cover my eyes or anything like that. Like
I had one moment where I really did wince. Like I was like, "Oh, that's horrendous." But yeah, you have like the kind of iconic one from the poster of like the eyes getting sucked out, and I think it's because it's one of the more CG heavy kills of it. Like you don't, and it's distorted because you're not really seeing the eyes properly coming out. That wasn't like a kind of moment. And I'm really bad with eye stuff. Like there's a moment I think in the second movie where a guy has to dig out his eye to get a key behind it, and I found that horrific. I think for some of the kills, it doesn't have that same impact. This one in particular, because it's not actually a real one. It's like an imaginary kind of moment. Like it makes you think that there's actually a kill going on and it's not, which I think you had to do because there's no traps in the first hour of this movie, like no actual traps. Without any context, the first half of this movie is a drama about an old man who's finding a cure.
It's quite, but you know what, you're absolutely right, because I was feeling sorry for the bloke, you know. And Alona, because she's not seen any of them, she kind of nudged us at one point and said, has he been killing people at this point, or is he just a nice guy?
Loads of people.
He's killing loads of people. He's a nutter.
The entire first movie of people gone and before that, like I'm sure. But like the Saw lore is so convoluted. There's so many flashbacks. Like Jigsaw died in the third movie, and he's in all of the other ones because they just flash back constantly to things that happened before. So this one's between 1 and 2.
Is it between 1 and 2? Is it not after 2? Because does she not fall in the needles in 2? And
but this is before that happened.
Oh, right.
You're referring to Amanda, played by Shawnee Smith, who has the worst haircut I've ever seen in a movie. She has like this kind of style hair in the second movie. She's like 30 in Saw 2. Like she doesn't look that much older than there. It's the hair that really puts me off and I found really took me out of the movie. Tobin Bell always, I think, played a little bit older than he was, so he's kind of almost aged into it now, like more age appropriate. I found that really distracting. Great character though. I really like their kind of moments. A bit odd considering if I remember right, in the third movie, she's making traps that people can't escape. Like she's like a bit more sadistic, which I thought it's odd because she's sort of a voice of reason in this movie.
But that's why she gets bumped off, I think, in the end. It's a long time since I've seen it, but because she's breaking the rules of the game. The bit with the bone saw on her leg was pretty rough. That was...
Is that a real... I assume that's a real thing.
Bone saw,
it's that sharp that you can like, touch it and you'll... Okay, right.
The only thing that I did find slightly funny, there hadn't been much time between him kind of being duped and then him gathering the people together, I don't think. That wasn't explained. And yet he'd rekitted that warehouse into kind of like a death chamber of horrors thing with all kinds of weird traps and things like that.
I mean, he's got some of this shit laying around, I'd assume. Like,
not in that country, hasn't he? He'd gone to Mexico, hadn't he, or somewhere?
That's a fair point. I don't know. Maybe he was doing it on the side while he was getting his treatment or something. You know. That's fair enough. I hadn't watched any of the trailers coming into this.
I've seen a few.
So all I had known was that it was between 1 and 2, and that Jigsaw and Amanda were in it. So I didn't know that. I don't know if the trailers reveal that he gets like scammed, but like I felt it does. That's unfortunate because I think that's a good, like, obviously I know he's not going to get cured, but I was like, it doesn't work and he's pissed off about that. They had set up a whole, like, the pharmaceutical company are after them. Is it pharmaceutical people he goes and kills? But then we're meeting all these doctor characters and I'm like, this feels like you're setting the stage for the victims of the movie. So I was like, well, what's going to happen? And I was like, maybe it's a scam.
Were you surprised he didn't dispatch the main bad guy at the end? Because she was just kind of left.
That's how it goes. He gives them the chance. I mean, didn't she breathe in like toxic waste or something?
But I wanted her to die. I wanted her to die a grisly death. You know
Set her up for another movie, I suppose. We'll see. One trap in this, it has some pretty good traps, like you said, the kind of leg cut off moment. But the one that really got me was, I'm going to cut open your skull and pull out a piece of your brain. And this is another thing about saw traps. Like, I think if you had seen Saw movies and then you wound up in a saw trap, you just let it kill you, because you know that what's going to happen is you're gonna go through the whole shit to do with a thing, and then you're going to run out of time at the last second, and the thing's going to kill you anyway. I think a lot of the really horrific ones, it's the thought of it. So like the needles in the tub or needles in the swimming pool in the second movie, probably one of the less painful traps there is, but it's just the thought of it, of like needles poking in you and shit, and it's horrible.
I mean,
this one, like, people were like screaming, and like I think it was a really good cinema atmosphere seeing these, so I'm kind of sad I didn't see anymore. And he's just like, he has a tweezers and he's pulling on one, and it's
that was rough. I did want to see his face after the heat thing had shut him, but do you know what I mean? I would have liked it to have opened to see what had happened to his face.
Felt like it wouldn't have killed you that fast.
Nah, it wouldn't. I'm saying that because I've done it obviously many a time. The bit that this really reminded us of, it's one of the Sounds of the Lamb sequels where he's got Ray Latoya and he's cutting bits of his brain off and sauteing it and then feeding him it. That is just horrendous.
I suppose it's the element of doing it yourself. I think it's like also I just couldn't.
You got no sensation there, bud. So he's not feeling anything.
That's what I mean. It's the thought of it, though. And like also, if you hit the wrong place, you'll lose your motor skills or something. It's just tremendous. Like I think that like if I had to go through a random saw trap and I could veto 3 of them,
just die, just kill us. I mean, the woman who cut her own leg off. Do you know what I mean? Her head was lopped off in seconds. Just do that. Fast forward it,
isn't it? Half the time it's a bomb on you. So like just let the bomb kill you. Like the eye suck one, right? That's like one of the more tame in terms of what you have to do to yourself. Just twist the thing and break your hand, like you'd be fine. The radiation one was pretty like I think that's more physically difficult, like to break your hand like with a hammer kind of while it's suspended in air, but you're also just getting tortured while it happens as well. So like the desperation.
Absolutely.
Like, that was a good one as well. I like that it had a cohesive plot, which I think all the other ones, like, they're so jumpy with the timeline. I think that first movie had like a really amazing twist at the end where like it was him in the middle of the floor the whole time, and every movie has tried to have a twist as clever as that. This one just felt like effort was put into the story, like into the characters and the character development, and I found that really sold the movie well for me.